afternoon, my friends, and welcome to this news update. I'm your host, David Iverson, and you're listening to Wyoming's most listened to podcast, Cowboy State Politics. It would appear that my recent op-ed in the Cowpie struck a nerve with the Speaker Pro Tem of the Wyoming House, Clark Stith. He's written one of his own, and it's chock full of really interesting stuff. Well, I don't really know if it's interesting, but it's clearly misleading. Now, I know we've already done Weekend Update for today, but after reading his op-ed, I felt inspired, driven even. So at the risk of getting into a tit-for-tat with good old Clark Stith, I thought, why the heck not? I'll just write my own open letter to the good representative. And then, after I send it to him, publish it every single place I can possibly think of. First, here's what he had to say about yours truly. And I quote, "The second letter from an amateur podcaster attacks Representative Crego with a series of ad hominem attacks, but does raise one issue worth discussing. If the Freedom Caucus only has 26 votes, how could it be an impediment to passing a property tax relief bill? The answer is that the Freedom Caucus teamed up with the Democrats on the final day of the Committee of the Whole and voted to adjourn, thus preventing consideration of Senator Beitman's Senate File 136, Property Tax Relief Assessment Rate Reduction." End quote. That, my friends, is 100% grade A Sweetwater County bullcrap. As if that was the only possible way that we could fix our gigantic property tax problem. Yeah. Well, and there were 20 other bills, and, they passed a constitutional amendment that they claimed was going to fix property taxes. But other than that, that was the only way possible that we could get any reform whatsoever. If you believe that, I've got some beachfront property somewhere around Guernsey to sell you. Anyway, I've written my own letter. Here you go, Clark. Representative Stith. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Still having trouble with facts, I see. They are stubborn, it's true. You and I both know there wasn't a single ad hominem in my op-ed piece directed at Crego. I did refer to Steve Harshman as Tax the Rich Harshman, but that could hardly be considered an insult, as he'd said it himself on the floor of the House. Oh, wow, you voted with him a lot, too. I thought you would have come up with a more clever response than to call me an amateur. You are, after all, more witty than most of your colleagues. If I were merely an amateur, why would you deign to respond at all? Oh, and one more question on this point. Who's slinging the ad hominems at whom, Clark? It's interesting that you folks in the Rhino Caucus can't find a better example than the one bill that died on the last day. What happened to the other 20 property tax bills? And if you and your pals were so effective, why on earth did you wait until the last day to do anything? You guys literally could have rammed through anything that you wanted. Wait a minute. If I recall correctly, the liberals, that's you and your pals, and the Democrats killed several different options. Now hold it right there. Didn't you infer that voting with the Democrats was a terrible thing? On that point, do you have any idea how many times you personally vote with the Democrats? It's hard to say because it happens so often. My guess is several hundred. But let's see here. I'm sure you are just as fond of statistics as my representative, Representative Crego, but of the 1,566 times that you have shared a vote, 1,220 times you have voted with the Democrat Minority Floor Leader, Mike Yin. If you were wondering, Clark, 1 is less than 1,220. As it relates to that, have you reflected on how many vote totals were 36 to 26? Hundreds. There are only 31 liberal Republicans. Where did the other 5 votes come from? Oh, that's right! There are 5 Democrats in the House. If voting with them one time is such a crime, how could you possibly classify your own voting record? Clark, you really should start being honest in your op-eds. Remember, a falsehood of omission is still a falsehood. And Lord, do you guys like to leave out pesky little details. House Bill 66, for example, It was Barry Crago who added the huge appropriation to that bill, claiming that the Center for Medicaid Services would remove all funding from Wyoming if that bill passed. As you are fully aware, 17 other states have done exactly what that piece of legislation would do, and it hasn't cost them a single red cent. We, you and I, know that amendment was meaningless, and its only purpose was to allow you guys to vote in favor of mask mandates. I'm not quite sure why you worried about it. During the special session, you guys voted that way over and over. From the very beginning, you and the Democrats were not going to pass House Bill 66. So it's not about spending money at all, and it never would have been. And speaking of omissions, it was you and the other liberal Republicans who voted against capping property taxes. There was a perfect opportunity to effect meaningful property tax relief, and you killed it. The vote was 33-29. Why leave out a little detail like that? Once again, you, along with the Democrats, defeated the cap on property taxes. Clark, you say that you would like to debate person to person. Fine, let's do that. You're welcome on this program anytime you like. But just remember, Clark, I deal in facts. Things that your Rhino caucus seem to struggle with. But of course, why would you? I'm just an amateur with a very loud microphone. Well, anyway, you know how to get a hold of me. Regards, David Iverson, owner and host of Cowboy State Politics. Do you guys have any idea how much fun it is to know that I live rent-free in all of their heads? It's so much fun. And I have to tell you, it is an absolute out-and-out blast to be able to talk to you anytime that I want. Perhaps not instantaneously, but pretty darn close. Way faster than any of Clark Stith's stupid op-eds. Well, in any case, I'll let you get back to your weekend, and I'll keep you updated if there are any other further developments from Redcoat Central, that's also known as Clark Stith's house. Until then, from the base of the Bighorns, I'm David Iverson, and this is the one and only Cowboy State Politics.